In Petals of War, you'll be purchasing cards to build your empire in your deck by using the 3 different currencies of Prosperity, Pink Flower, Military Power, the Yellow Diamond, or Political Influence for the Blue Fan. Your cards will come from these 5 provinces here, as we'll flip the cards up. Each of these decks has 5 total cards in it. The top card will be flipped over to reveal what is available for purchase. The purchase cost is in the top left-hand corner, and it'll show exactly how much it costs. Something else you can purchase is the Imperial Blessing, which has multiple functions that can be used immediately or held on to for later. This is the stack of seasons. Seasons have a global effect on the game and change throughout the course of the game. Once you get through all of them, the game will end. Seasons change from the season glory pool here, which is different set amounts for each season. Once it's gone is when the season will change, either at the end of a Petals phase turn or at the end of the Warring States phase round. Every card has 2 halves, and you only get to use the half that you're in that current phase of the game. There's the Petals phase on the top half and Warring States phase on the bottom half. You are always in the Petals phase as long as there are petals on the tension tracker off to the side here. Petals can get removed from that at the end of every turn, depending on what number the little guy is over here on the agitation tracker, and this will go up depending on enemies that show up in the different provinces. Enemy cards show up, like this one, the riots. When the riots show up in the top of a province, you'll get +1 agitation, which moves this guy up 1 on the tracker. That would then mean we would remove 2 petals off of the tension tracker at the end of every turn. At the very beginning of the game, each player gets to place 2 of their 4 banners out on the different provinces in one of the 2 control spots. These banners will denote an actual subtract 1 from the current cost of the card to acquire it. It does not lower the cost to defeat enemies. So you'll go from first player to last player, and then you'll go from last player to first in placing these. If someone manages to have 2 on one area, it will stack and give them a -2. These banners will reset throughout the game and be able to change up during the Warring States phase. Every player will have a starter deck that is comprised of 6 rice paddies, 2 militia cards, and 2 advisor cards. To start play, you'll shuffle this deck up and then draw 5 cards for your hand. So during my first turn of the game, take a look at what I have. 2 political influence, 1 prosperity, and 2 military power. I can spend them separately, together, but when you spend a card, you'll get a pool of resources. So I can get the 5 there, but I can't get this card, this card, this card, or this one because I don't have the specific resources they require. I could also buy the Imperial Blessing because it's 5 of anything, which is what this star asterisk stands for. It's not an actual card, so it doesn't have a real back. It just stays out in front of you until you use it. You can use it right away, or you can hold on to it for later. You can use it to produce 3 of any one type of resource, destroy 2 cards in your hand or discard, and gain 2 glory, which are victory points. Or you can return the top card of every deck into the main deck. I could also buy a Courtier Fort or an Ashigaru from the bottom of the board, but I'm going to go with the Trading Post because it only costs 5, and because of my banner being there, I get a reduction of 1, which means I can buy this for 4, and now I can also overpay by 1, which gives me the ability to put it on top of my deck instead of into my discard like a normal purchase. If I purchase it normally, it would go into my discard with these cards. So I flip over the card to see what's next. It is an enemy card, so I have to upgrade the agitation tracker. And now at the end of my turn, agitation removes 2 petals from the tension tracker. Now I'll draw my hand of 5 cards for next turn, and my turn will be done, and I pass the turn to blue player. For demonstration purposes, we're going to speed through the rest of this round. Blue gets to go next, and they'll be able to purchase cards from the middle area as well, and at the end of their turn, petals will come off the tracker. Then yellow goes, buys cards, petals come off the tracker. Then green goes, buys cards, petals come off the tracker, and we come back around to red. So, back on red's turn, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 prosperity and a new card, which has the lasting ability, which means it stays out in front and is active every turn. Doesn't go away till the end of Warring States phase, so I'll draw the card for it. Now I have 5 prosperity cards, which means that I can spend 3 of these to purchase this card up here. And I'm just going to put it in my discard. I could overpay, but I'm going to use these 2 to affect the petals tracker and add a petal back on, because prosperity and political can add one back on, or political and military can take one off, and you get 1 glory for doing so. I can't draw any cards, so my discard is then shuffled up and becomes my new deck in order to draw my hand of 5 cards from. At the end of my turn, I check agitation and remove the proper amount of petals. Only 3 petals left, which means we're going to war soon. So blue's turn loses 2 because there's still 2 agitation. Yellow's turn, at the end of their turn, they would move 2. We're at 0, which means they get the war start token, which means they will start the round of war. Now to set up war, you'll grab your hand, your discard, and any cards that are out in front of you, and you'll set them all out together. Try to keep same name cards together and similar function cards or similar currencies nearby so you have an idea of what your empire is capable of doing during war. So I've set up a mock war with red player and green player. In a regular game, everyone's cards would be out, and this could be an all-out war between everybody. But we are going to have 2 phases of war, political and military, starting with yellow, then to green, then to red, then to blue, and then military starts with blue, goes back to red, goes to green, and then back to yellow. And then after that, war's done, and we'll score up, put petals back on the tension tracker, and go back into petals phase. During war, your objective is to get points from typically going after people's supply lines. You can protect your own, and supply cards will show at the top. These are the cards that typically will gain points at the end if you protect them. Otherwise, you are trying to attack other people's supply lines. So starting with the political round, yellow will take their turn, do what they do, then we'll move on to green, who is going to use his 2 advisors here to produce 2 political influence. You do that by exhausting the cards, which is turning them sideways. And now he has 2 political influence to deal with this corrupt official, which costs 2 political influence to defeat. When it's defeated, you'll gain 2 glory as shown on the card. That comes from the Season Glory pool and goes behind your player shield. Then this enemy is not gained, but removed from the game entirely. And since he's all out of political influence, his turn is done, and we move on to the red player after flipping this card over to see what's still there. Now on red's turn, I have 2 political influence I can use, and there's only 1 more political turn left with blue, so I'm going to use just 1 of my political influence, and I'm going to go after green. So I'm just going to send it at him, and he could take it to his supplies by exhausting 1 of his supplies because I sent 1 at him, or he could take it to dishonor. Dishonor is negative points at the end of the game, and you can't have the Imperial Blessing while you have dishonor. He chose dishonor. Then I'm going to take my other political influence, and I'm going to put it into a province. Now, all the banners we have out here, they were cleared at the beginning of war. So if we want to put banners back, I would need to put influence in one of these areas and hope it stays around. So I'm going to put it on this one by putting it here on the blue section. Now blue will get to take his political turn and do what he's going to do, and then his military turn before it comes back to my military turn, where I have 2 militia that I can go ahead and use. I want to use both of them to attack a player rather than some of the other things I could do. I'm going to attack green, and green, instead of defending, is going to let it hit his rice paddies so he can have military to do something on his turn. So he'll show that by exhausting them and turning them sideways, and then I will gain 2 points, 1 for each supply that I exhausted. Then green would take their turn to use their military, and then yellow would take their turn to do military actions. And then after that, war is done, and we're going to figure out how many supply cards we managed to save. Supply cards will generally say on the bottom, if NE or not exhausted, plus so many glory. So I saved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, so I will gain 6, and then this card says I also get 1, but I don't meet the special requirements, so just 1. So I get 6 glory, plus 1, so 7. But the other ones have to come from here because there's no more left in the season glory pool, which means once all this is done, we're going to switch seasons. He gets 1, 2, 3, and 4 points because I took 2 from him. So he will grab those from the supply as well and put them behind his screen. Once all the points are distributed, it's time to clean up war, take everything, shuffle it back up into your deck, and get everything reset on the agitation tracker, get all the petals put back on to the tension tracker to the full amount for the players you're playing with, and then draw yourself a new hand of 5 cards, and we will start back with the person to the clockwise position of who started war. Now because this is empty, we have to change the season before Petals phase can start. This will be removed from the game, and we are now onto the Season of the Raging Sun, which has 2 phases to it as well, and this phase will make military generating cards generate more, but has a different effect during the Warring States phase. Now green will take their turn. At the end of their turn, 1 petal will leave, and on my turn, look at what I have and see what I can purchase. I've got 4 prosperity and 1 political influence. So because in war I had the only one out there, I get to put a banner back out so I have reduced cost, which means I can afford that for 3 instead of 4 prosperity, and I can use that 4th one to overpay by 1 of the same type to put it back on top of my deck. Now I can't do much with just this one, but I need to see what the next card is. And since that's a 2 of anything, and I have a reduction of 1, I can use this one and purchase this card to go into my discard. Well, looks like we have an enemy, so I need to raise the agitation to 2 because of what the card says. And my turn, I can't do anything, so 3 petals leave. War's going to come fast. Also make sure when a season changes that you put more glory back out for the next season change, as shown in the rules. So at the end of my turn, I'll go ahead and draw back up to my hand of 5 cards, and we'll go ahead and speed on through, take some petals off for the other player's turns, get over here to green player's turn. And let's say he defeats this enemy. This enemy specifically would reward him 5 glory from the glory pool. And he has also emptied a province. So in Petals phase you get 1 glory and refill the province with 5 cards. Or in Warring States, you get 3 glory and you don't refill the province until after war. So we will refill the province with 5 brand new cards. And flip over the top card to see what new card comes out. And he gets his 1 glory. And we still have riots, so we should have gone down to 1, but now we have riots, so we're back up 1. So he doesn't have anything to deal with that, so let's say he was able to add a petal back on. He gets a glory for doing so. And now at the end of his turn, we'll remove 2 petals. And we have 1 petal left, and it's Red's turn. Red will take their turn, look at what they have to produce. And it looks like we can do a lot with this militia this turn because of that season, making it worth 2 per card rather than just the 1. So I can get either of these 2 4-cost cards, but I want to know what's going to be under them, so I'm going to look at it with this hidden cache card. So I get to look at the next card under, which is a 2 cost that I could purchase. So I think I'm going to take that 4 cost with my militia. Now, the resource is still produced. It produces a pool of resources that I can spend any way I want. It's not just card based. So take this Sun Samurai and put him into my discard because I can't overpay. Flip over to reveal the village, and I have that 1 left over from the hidden cache, and one of these other resources will take over the extra 1 for this one. And then this can go into my discard, or I can overpay with my last card and put it on top of my deck to be in my next hand. Discard the rest of my cards, and draw up my new hand. So I draw up my next hand, shuffle up, and draw my last card. Make sure the provinces are flipped over, and I lose the last petal on my turn, so I get to be the person that starts war. So we'll set up the next section of war, and look at how big my empire's gotten, and all the different fun cards I get to use. So now we have a lot more stuff, and we also have more that we have to protect than just the rice paddies. Villages also give glory if they're defended, but they can also be used for military power. And there's also the trading post that can give us some, and the mountain forge like last time. So I want to cover some of the other functions military can do. They can burn cards out of any province, or they can put for control like political can. So I'm going to use these 2 militia cards to pay the cost as if it were military, and just burn it from the game. It'll get discarded from the game like enemies, and I will gain half its cost rounded down in glory. So 1. Reveal the next one, and it shows that we have riots. I'm going to use my other 2 military here, and I can destroy 1 riot and gain 1 glory. Flip over the next card. I can't destroy that, which would be nice if I could, because then I'd get the 3 glory bonus on the bottom. But I should be able to go over here and destroy this other riot and gain a glory. And reveal the next card under it. So, military can also be used like political influence to gain control over the different provinces. They have their own different section out here, and other players might be in the way, like green might have some things out here. I might have some out here. Now, I want to remove green from here. He has 2 militaries. I need 3. So I need to put out 1, 2, 3 military in order to get rid of his 2, so that way I can leave 1 behind. And now I have controlling interest in 3 different provinces, which could net me 3 banners at the end of war. This has been an overview of Petals of War. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us.